And here we are. Welcome back to the Redshirt Sophomore. We never set out. We're your hosts, MD and CD. It's week 5. All right. Mike Gundy fired. 3 Power 4 coaches gone before week 5 kickoff. That is nuts. All right. We'll say some brief words about that, but we got some great games we're going to preview today. Once again, our Dirty Dogs are hot. They're hot. So 8 games. We got USC, Illinois, Notre Dame, Arkansas, Ohio State, Washington, LSU, Ole Miss, Auburn, A&M, Oregon, Penn State, Alabama, Georgia, and TCU, Arizona State. CD would like to say, hey, how's it going? How's it been? But Oklahoma State said, hey, see you later to Mike Gundy, who had been tenured there for years. How many straight winning seasons did he have at that program? A program that sucked before he got there.
Yeah, I mean, just brutal. I mean, 2007, he had the iconic, I'm a man, I'm 40, September 22nd, which, by the way, was yesterday. So We're recording this on Monday, so day after, the 18th anniversary. Just a shame. I get it. You got to win. You got to figure out your coaching staff. You got to figure out buyout, all this other stuff, recruiting. There's a lot more than just, helping honor Mike Gundy when he did for you. And I wonder, too, if Gundy, that was kind of part of it, where he's like, I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do next and get back into coaching and elsewhere. So it does suck. And he is such an iconic part of the game. He's such a great personality. His just iconic moments are great. When Oklahoma State is good and dangerous, Stillwater is an electric place. It is a fun. It makes the Big 12 and college football that much better. It sucks that he's gone. If you haven't, by the way, seen his I'm a man, I'm 40 famous speech, back in his press conference back in 2007, go look it up. It is worth your time after you watch this video, after you subscribe and share to all your friends and family that are college football connoisseurs. So yeah, it sucks for Gundy, sucks for us, but we're still here. We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
CD, we were talking about it, so Mike Gundy, he doesn't want to stop coaching, right? So where would the next best place for him to go? All right. And I'll give you one, and then you can give me one. All right. I think he would be so good in the MAC, man. Like if Joe Moorhead gets fired at Akron or whatever, those kids, they're not even academically eligible for postseason right now. That's the state of that program right now. All right. But when the talent gap isn't that big between, it's large, but not as much as the talent gap is, between Oklahoma State and some of these other Power 4 schools. I think he would be phenomenal at Akron. I think he could make bowl games. I think he would have that town buzzing over there in Ohio. I really do. Kent State would be an interesting one. I don't know if the resource gap is too big at that spot, but a Mike Gundy coaching Maction would go nuclear. I think I would love it.
It would. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, him and Maction Tuesday night, his stuff. Yeah, it would be absolutely electric, and the chaos that happens in the MAC, he would be fantastic for it. I'll give you two because I just can't pick. I thought of another one too. I wanted to talk about. First one, and not that I'm predicting or saying this guy should or should not be fired, but UAB and Trent, right? There's potentially going to be a job opening there. I think the writing's on the wall, that's definitely a spot that I think he'd be awesome in Birmingham. They're trying to revitalize that program. He would be perfect there. And then how about Wyoming? Right? Put him in Laramie.
Dude.
Weird shit happens there.
That would be
match
amazing.
made in heaven. I don't know. I just think that
would
fantastic
be amazing
there. Especially if Jay Salva doesn't work out with Wyoming this year. Their team's not very good, right? No. So it's
yeah, we talked about it. Not that it was a lazy hire, but that was, Craig's pick. That was his pick, right? So do the boards just say, all right, that was your pick. We tried him out, whatever. Now let's get Mike freaking Gundy over here coaching in Laramie with 22 mile per hour crosswinds, running the football down people's throats, opposing offensive coordinators scrambling, trying to call plays that are just not working. They're just not working. And Mike Gundy is just
taking all that chaos and just thriving.
Dude, you're so. I didn't even think about that. That would be That would be a great spot. I think New Mexico State. I think Tony Sanchez is fine right there now. I don't think he's any danger, but I think New Mexico State would be another one that I think would be a pretty solid fit for him. Any one of those Mountain West teams, to be honest, as long as it's Nevada. Nevada would be a really interesting one, I think.
He just got there. Pete Limbo, or not Pete Limbo, but he just got there.
Jeff Choate.
Yeah.
Jeff Choate. Just some interesting thoughts, right? So unfortunate. Oklahoma State will be moving on. Their outlook for the rest of the season is, spoiler alert, not good. All right, really not good. So, I mean, it was unfortunate, Christopher. That back-to-back weeks, you got a coach fired on the Dirty Dogs.
Yeah, listen, if you are a coach for one of these teams we're going to talk about, I am so sorry. Here's what I'll say. If one of these guys gets fired,
that would be ridiculous.
A good time at all.
That would be ridiculous. Yeah, that wouldn't happen. But back-to-back weeks, you had Tulsa beating Oklahoma State in your Dirty Dog. Mike Gundy gets fired a couple days later. Then you had New Mexico defeating Virginia Tech, UCLA. Walloped them. Deshaun Foster gone just a couple days later. So, yeah, you're on a tear right now. You're actually on a tear. Okay, well, enough of that fun. We'll get to the Dirty Dogs later in our best bets. Let's get into some of these games. Let's go USC Illinois, right? Illinois, look, we all want to look at that game. We watched it. Everyone watched it. We saw the massacre. We saw, Fernando Mendoza making it look super easy. And Indiana's defense making it very difficult for Illinois on offense. So what does USC bring to the table that Indiana brought to the table? I think a very effective passing attack. I think an offensive line that's okay. It's all right. I think they'll be tested this week for sure in a big way. But Illinois, battling injuries, man. Battling them, particularly in that secondary. Hank Beatty also took a shot. He was back in practice, though. You had Matthew Bailey, who's in concussion protocol. Xavier Scott will be out for a while, if not the whole season. Torrey Cox Jr., his MRI came back negative, but he's back in practice, supposedly. Caleb Patterson, x-rays were negative, but, I mean, dude, they're taking a beating with the injury bug. Beating. And USC might be getting back some help in the secondary. Alex Graham, who's a true freshman cornerback that folks loved, all summer, all fall. He could be sliding into that nickel because Kamari Ramsey is the guy that slid into that nickel spot, even though he's better at safety. So, you could have a situation where Illinois is sure, they may get some of these guys back, but you're banged up, whatnot. And all of a sudden, USC is getting reinforcements, from another freshman, and we've seen they have some freshmen on their team, on their defense, particularly that have looked really good. So my confidence in Alex Graham actually it's not low, right? If Kamari Ramsey gets to move back to safety, I'm sure you USC fans, you're potentially getting better at two spots because Kamari Ramsey's he's not a better nickel than he is a safety.
No, he's not. But listen, I will say you talked about this Indiana team really handling Illinois on the offense side of the ball. I think that a little bit of outlier, like what Mendoza did, those wide receivers, the corner got hurt, you got a lot, secondary got hurt. So it just was snowball, right? So I don't think that's going to be a repeatable outcome that's going to happen with this Illinois defense week in and week out in the Big Ten. What I do see is what is of concern for Illinois moving forward is how their offensive line, who is supposed to be one of the better units in college football, how the quarterback and running game was supposed to be one of the better units in the Big Ten, got kind of manhandled. And this USC defense, I think, can absolutely replicate that kind of success. Their defensive linemen, I think, are really, really impressive. You got Shelby, you got Crawford, Jakeem Stewart kind of broke out a little bit, the young kid there, and had a really nice game against Michigan State. You've also got Abaziri, the Minnesota kid, who's a really athletic interior guy. A couple good pass rushers. Anthony Lucas is in there as well. What Gentry does, I think, in that front seven, and what his size and athleticism is really, really frustrating to deal with how long he is and how good he is at attacking wherever he's going to, but specifically getting after the quarterback in blitz plays. So that's what's concerning, I think. And that's why I really feel strongly about USC in this game. Traveling on the road, I think they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. As a guy that, I'll spoil it here. Like, I'm taking USC in the points here, and that's going to be on our best bets. Like, unfortunately for me and USC bettors, it's like you lost value because of what happened to Illinois. I was going to be taking that regardless coming in this weekend. I was obviously with the crazy outlier, what happened last week with Illinois, that line got inflated and all that stuff. But yeah, and also speaking to that, the game that was a big one circled in the Big Ten in one of the biggest games of the September schedule that the Big Ten Conference play had was this one here. And it was like for USC, almost make a break already for the September and what they're going to do here with Lincoln Riley. But it still is a massive game. Like if USC loses, it's that much. I think almost that much more pressure is put on them because of what happened to Illinois last week and how you cannot lose to a team that just lost by 50, right? So, yeah, that's where I'm at with USC.
And you're going on the road too. Like it's not on my best bets. I'll be with you on USC minus 6.5, but I do not feel nearly as confident as you do, to be honest. This offense, Jacoby Lane is out with what I guess Riley is calling a undisclosed injury, whatever that means. My thought is that he's not going to be playing this week. All right. If he doesn't, I know we saw the offensive production, the numbers. You're like, oh, they didn't really take a dip because they ran the ball really well against Michigan State. Hashtag who hasn't. If they're not able to establish the ground game the way that they have been able to, what does it look like for this passing attack? Like you have very talented Illinois defensive backs, like when they're healthy.
Yeah.
Like if they're able to eliminate Mekhi Lemon, like where are they going? I know that USC has talent in this room. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying USC doesn't have talent. I'm saying when Jacoby Lane was out and you're playing against Michigan State, like it was only Mekhi Lemon in the passing game. It was only him. And it doesn't have to be that way. And I'm sure with another week of preparation that USC will find other options to go to. I just think it's a little bit less certain. So
it makes Jordan and Eli Sanders, Wayman Jordan, Eli Sanders, that much more valuable. Those running backs, so those guys got juice, man. I was really impressed. We talked about this a little bit off air and like what they were able to do, and just like seeing guys pop off the screen just from the TV screen, right? Like that's exciting. If we heard all camp, we heard all summer about this kid Wayman Jordan, and it's been fun to see that come to fruition.
Notre Dame is going to Arkansas. This number's at 4.5. Arkansas's catching 4.5 points. It's been bet down, too, if you can believe that. I get it, man. I get it. Notre Dame, sure, they're 0-2 right now. I still think this is a pretty good team, but their defense really hasn't looked great. And part of that is due to injuries, right? Leonard Moore going down the A&M game, Devonta Smith not even playing in that game, having to rely on freshman DBs, and a pass rush that you've played two of the better offensive lines in the entire country. So, let's not get crazy here when I say it hasn't looked the way you wanted it to look, right? I think that's fair, all right? What Arkansas is bringing to the table is one of the best offenses in the entire country. Like, if it wasn't for two fumbles, on the last possessions of their games in which they were going to go down and score both times, I'm very confident in that, particularly against Memphis. They didn't even have to score a touchdown. This Arkansas team should be 4-0. This Arkansas team has one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country right now. They are playing with a chip on their shoulder. They get to play this game at home. Remember, the Memphis game last week was on the road.
So was Ole Miss.
One of the better. Yep, exactly. So what's going to happen? I mean, Fayetteville, here's the thing. I'm pretty sure it's like the last day before deer season starts. So that's a big deal. It's a huge deal. If it was lining up on, yeah. Or actually, deer hunting starts next week, so we're good. We're in the clear. All right.
That's
I think we're in a good.
hilarious.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those southern teams. I mean, you gotta be careful about that first weekend. Of deer season. So I'm pretty sure that's next weekend. I think I could be wrong. Someone wants to fact check me on that, but I like Arkansas in this spot, man. I don't. Am I falling for it again? Maybe bet on them 2 weeks in a row. I won't be betting on them a third week in a row. All right, after last week, but 4.5. I'll play it here, because we preview these games and we have to pick these for the purpose of the pick. I'll take Arkansas plus 4.5.
Yeah, I just think as long as Arkansas is still bought in as a team, right? Like they're going to be a really tough out against everyone they play for all the reasons you mentioned. What that offense does to teams with Green and those receivers and Bobby P, right? Explosive plays down the field. And those running backs, Mike Washington is fantastic. Braylon Russell, when they get him going downfield, he runs the ball very, very hard. This is a spot where I do expect to see a high scoring game. I would like to see Notre Dame's defense like flex their muscles. Like if you're Notre Dame and you're looking at your record, you're looking at your schedule, it's like we can only really control we can control. I want to see them flex their muscles, and I want to see that defense get back to what Marcus Freeman wants. I don't think it's going to happen in this game necessarily, but that's why you have CJ Carr. That's why you have Love and Price. Fields, Rareden's been fantastic. Jordan Faison. It's a really nice offense. And plus, you still haven't even unlocked like some of the other guys with Will Pauling, Jaden Greathouse, guys like that are very, very solid in their own right and can be contributors for you. But I'm going to go Notre Dame here. 4.5, sure, on the road. I don't love it, but I just worry, man. Arkansas, a couple weekends in a row, just not finishing football games. And one thing I do know about Notre Dame, I do trust them, in late games. I know they didn't get it done against Miami. They didn't get it done against A&M, but I do trust them to figure it out. And also, CJ Carr, this is huge for him. He already has that experience on the road playing at Miami. That's big because, like you said, Arkansas Fayetteville is not an easy place to play at all, especially for out-of-conference teams. I think there's a little bit of a misnomer about there. I think you don't expect it to be as difficult as it is, but they make it tough every time you go into Fayetteville.
I did look up deer hunting season. Bow hunting starts Saturday in Arkansas. So
it's a noon game though. But you're probably getting up at the crack of dawn.
So look, it actually probably be better if it was a night game. Maybe. Probably. I don't know.
You just be tired. It'd be 60,000
I'm not gonna
tired
pretend
fans.
like the no. I'm not gonna pretend like the social constructs of like the people living in Arkansas. But I mean, does that play a factor? Maybe. I'm gonna say a little bit, but I'll still rock with 4.5. I see what you're saying though. Like you look at the names on that side of the ball in the golden helmets. Those are better names. Some of those are better athletes. Some of those are more household names, but man, okay, well, let me ask you this. Chris Ash versus Bobby Petrino. Who are you taking?
I think you ask both sides. I think both fan bases are taking Bobby Petrino right now. I don't think Chris Ash is very popular in South Bend and beyond.
Yeah. Now, you flip the script and you're like, okay, Mike Denbrock, and you're like, okay, yeah, you could play that game on either side. But all I'm saying is I'm just trying to convey the point that I don't think that there's as big of a talent or coaching gap as people may have you believe. I'm not saying Sam Pittman's a better coach than Marcus Freeman. I'm saying collectively. So,
can I ask you, who needs this game more? Is this so Notre Dame? Obviously, Marcus Freeman is not in any kind of hot seat, and nor should he be, right? But they need this game to win and stay alive in the playoff race. Sam Pittman and Arkansas need this to keep their season alive, right? And to keep Sam Pittman, right, off the hot seat as much as they can, right? So does that make sense? So who's more desperate coming into this football game?
Notre Dame, believe it or not. Like Notre Dame's more desperate. But they're both desperate. Ohio State going to Washington. Boy, 8.5 point spread right here. A lot of casuals licking their chops. The public will be firing in on Ohio State, as the week rolls along. I don't know, man. This Washington team it's pretty darn good. They haven't had a chance against some really good teams to show that necessarily, and this will be their first opportunity, but it's at home in Seattle. I think that plays a huge factor in it as well. We saw what Ohio State did against Texas. Like, oh, did you see that game? It's like, yeah, I think we were watching the same game. Like, it wasn't a super impressive looking Ohio State team. They have looked significantly more impressive the last couple weeks. 8.5 on the road against what I think is a pretty good team. That might be too much for me, CD. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, that line actually has moved in the direction of Washington. I think it opened over 10. Maybe that sharp money's coming in on Washington early on. But yeah, I think on the outskirts, like 10,000 foot view, if you are national or you're in the SEC or if you're in the Big 12 or ACC, and even if you're a Big Ten fan, not familiar with Washington and what the athletes and the type of team they have this year, and how dangerous they can be, how dangerous Seattle can be for opposing teams to come into, this is absolutely a spot here where we made sure we're previewing this game. This is one we've had circled, I think, for a while. We looked at Ohio State's schedule, and it's like, well, you get Texas and obviously Michigan and Penn State. Those are the ones that can be highlighted. But you got Washington on the road there. I get it, off a bye is huge. Absolutely huge, because you're going across the country, right? You want to be as fresh as possible. You want to make sure your team is not going to be falling asleep for that. You get the benefit of not having to play at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning your time, like some teams like Michigan State had to deal with last weekend, and other teams that have gone across the country have had to deal with and struggle. Also, it's not a night game, so that's helpful for you. I think it's like a 12:30 local time kickoff for him, so maybe a little bit less rowdy crowd, although it will still be fired up there in Seattle. Yeah, I'm this Washington football team, man. For all the love that Jeremiah Smith gets, deservingly so, let's give some love to Denzel Boston, man. He is incredible, incredible football player. Jonah Coleman also, what he does running the football, catching the football as well. And Demon Williams completing about 74% of his passes right now, 0 interceptions on the year. Also, what he brings with his legs as well. Those running quarterbacks, they give you fits, man. They give you fits. Ask Matt Patricia. I'm sure of it. He's probably, I'm not going to say he's more worried about this Washington team than Texas, but I'm sure he's absolutely losing sleep over what he has to deal with Jedd Fisch and this offense.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you. And Ohio State has some absolute wagons. Like, and then do I worry about this Washington defense? Not in the sense where, like, I think that they've been bad this year. In fact, I think that they look better than they did last year, at least from like an eyeball perspective. If you're Washington fans can agree, disagree, but we'll see. We will definitely see. Washington wins this game, by the way, CD. What does that mean for the Big Ten? Like, what does that mean? Because then you're looking at, like, oh, I look at the rest of Washington's schedule, and there's not a single team they can't beat. Sure, you got to go play Michigan right on the road. That's a tough game. Illinois, you get at home, but Rutgers, Maryland, Wisconsin, Purdue, UCLA, and then last game of the year, you play Oregon, but at home.
Yeah.
And we don't really know what Oregon's going to look like. We don't know enough about these teams yet. And some of these teams in the Big Ten, we don't know enough. Like, Washington wins this football game, CD, you are talking about flipping the entire Big Ten on its head. I'll take Washington plus 8.5. I think Ohio State will probably win this game, but that doesn't mean it won't be close up there in Seattle.
Yeah, last thing I'll say about, why Washington has a chance to not only cover but win. Julian Sayin also, first time on the road. First road start for him. Like, that's obviously, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. You don't really know. Obviously, he played in a massive environment, a massive game already against Texas, so he has that big game experience under his belt. But going on the road for the first time, yes, he had a whole bye week to prepare for it, will help him, but I think that's worth noting and mentioning. The newfound rushing attack of Bo Jackson has been a revelation. That guy is a stud. He runs super, super hard. Him and Donaldson and Peoples to keep each other fresh is a very nice compliment for Julian Saint, a very nice piece to have for, right, like our guy, right, the offensive coordinator there. Can't believe I'm blanking on his name. The former wide receiver coach for him.
Brian Hartline.
Thank you, Hartline. He is like that's big for him, first time play caller. Like nice to have a couple guys who can turn the ball around and just hand them the football. Obviously Smith and Tate and all those weapons and the just absolute nightmare that the receiving core and tight ends give opposing defenses. I'll go Ohio State -8.5. I'm very excited to see this game. Like this, I want to see them tested. I want to see their defense against Washington and Demon Williams. They should be fully healthy, just about. So like that, it's going to be really fun. I think we'll learn a lot about them, as we did against Texas. I think we learned with the big takeaway for me against Texas was, yeah, okay, yeah, no shit. They have all these athletes. Yeah, they're physical and fast, and holy cow, are they very, very well coached. Like I want to see, continue to learn more, continue to put the picture together about this football team.
Auburn, off of a loss to Oklahoma where you gave up 11 sacks. A&M, coming off of a bye, getting Auburn at home, laying 6.5 points here. Auburn, like, it wasn't all the offensive line. Can we get that out of the way? Like, Jackson Arnold needs to get rid of the football. Average time to throw was, like, well over 3 seconds for him. That is too much time. You know who has the quickest time to throw in the SEC right now? His name's Diego Pavia, right? And he's playing better quarterback than probably anyone in the SEC right now.
That's healthy.
In terms of efficient football and winning games. So holding on to football is not conducive to winning, right? And A&M's pass rush has been pretty effective this year. I think you would like to see some more from that front seven. I think that run defense has not been amazing at times. I think, once again, explosive plays have been a problem, which is what Hugh Freeze loves dialing up, which is exactly what happened in this game last year. So don't think for a second that just because Auburn is coming into this game off of a loss, Jackson Arnold didn't look so great, that they can't come in there and dial up. Like the dichotomy of Hugh Freeze's games, it's like you have terrible games, and then you have these games where, 2023 Alabama game, where his play calling just elevates. Last year against A&M, his play calling elevates. And some of that is busted coverages and whatnot, but yeah, this is not a layup for A&M at all, even at home.
Absolutely. And off a bye too. A&M, we've seen, how many times do you have in college football where you have a team win a massive, massive game? You have a team coming off of a tough loss, and things just kind of go back to equilibrium. Things kind of just reverse there. Not saying that's a predictor or anything like that, but it's definitely, you can't just take their last previous games as like, oh, one team lost, one team won. One is good, one is not good. This Auburn football team is going to be a really tough out. That's my takeaway from Auburn and Oklahoma. That game there is like, okay.
Yeah.
John Mateer's a good football team, but Auburn is going to give people fits with their wide receiver core. We've heard Mike Elko talk about that all week, right? And their defense, I was very impressed. It's not just some of their stars. They got good guys from 2 to 11 on that team, on that field at a time. With Arnold too, you talked about Hugh Freeze just dialing it up. Like if he just hits a couple passes down deep, if he's just in the zone and he just hits a couple deep balls, which he does in practice all the time, and he has the arm talent to do that. Like if he just hits them, that's a totally different ball game against Oklahoma. It's going to change the ball game on the road at A&M. It was also nice to see they did get experience in Norman in a tough environment. I have a feeling Kyle Field, and you know better than anyone, will be absolutely mobbed, especially after big win a couple weekends ago against Notre Dame, 3:30 or 2:30 kickoff local time there. So obviously, plenty of time to get in to that stadium there in College Station. Oh boy, is it really interesting. I do worry. So we've seen A&M, I think, for years now. It feels like their defensive backs. You've had good names, you've had talent, you've had athleticism. Obviously, big-time recruiting rankings. They've been got on explosive plays sometimes it's been chunk plays, like consistently. Other times last year felt more like, and you were on this, it was just brutal spots, 3rd and long, big explosive plays that led to touchdowns or in the red zone, whatever it may be, that just flipped the script, almost lost you football games. Like, can they
and lost you some?
And
almost lost you and lost you some games.
Can they be up to the challenge against Hugh Freeze and these wide receivers there? And then also A&M's offensive line, man, they're going to be put to the test. I want to see them show up. How healthy are they? I know they've been banged up a little bit. I know they have depth. They like that. They got versatility there. They like that, which is always great to have. And obviously, Marcel Reed can help you extend plays with his legs. Colin Klein has been in his bag this year so far. It's definitely, you can continue to learn more about these football teams. But even with the A&M win against Notre Dame, I feel like I still don't know the true identity of their team yet, because they're not going to be winning 41 to 40 games every single week, right? Like, it's not going to be like that. You're going to have to grind out some football games. Can they do that?
I think they can. I'll lay the points with A&M, -6.5. I hate getting comfortable like that, after a big win. And because we really don't know how good Notre Dame is.
Yeah.
This would be a tough physical football game. Hugh Freeze could make a big difference in this one. Like, if Hugh Freeze is in his bag and he's got Jay Bateman and Mike Elko's number, it gets really, really scary for the Aggies. It really does.
So last year, Auburn won this football game, didn't they? It was in Jordan-Hare.
In overtime.
Yeah, in overtime. And that was a back-breaking loss. I know that.
It also costed A&M a chance at the SEC championship.
Yep, that in South Carolina, obviously Texas as well.
So there are A&M players that remember that for sure. So I think that'll also play into it as well.
And I'm sure the A&M fans as well. So I'll go A&M -6.5 too. Don't feel great about it. Really don't feel great about it. But I want to see, and I expect A&M to take care of business. Win maybe a sloppy football game, but take care of business.
Oregon at Penn State. The marquee game of the week. Drew Aller versus Dante Moore. Dante Moore getting NFL draft hype. All of a sudden, it was Drew Aller for, a year and a half. All of a sudden, Dante Moore looking really good over here. I know Noah Whittington sat out against Oregon State. It sounded like, from Dan Lanning's verbiage last week, it sounds like he was close to playing, so I would imagine that he plays. Sion Lalea played last week. They've absolutely dominated everyone. All right. How good is Oregon? Really? We don't necessarily know that answer because they haven't played a lot of great football teams. Penn State, I think you're kind of in a similar boat. I don't really know how good either team is. I know that they're both really ranked high. I know that they're both favorites to go to the college football playoffs. I know that they're both favorites to potentially win a national championship. And we get them to match up against each other in Beaver Stadium week 5. Sadie, how are we feeling about this one? Penn State favored. We'll pick it at 3.5. I think it's 3 at a lot of places, but I don't like pushing. So,
did you say game of the week on the same weekend? Alabama and Georgia play each other.
Crazy.
Can we talk about this? Is massive, massive. Obviously, Penn State has had the expectation since January. Obviously, when Jim Knowles, ended up going over there, that just added fuel to the fire. They had all these guys return. They look great. They got the hype. They got the wide receiver guys in the portal. Here's this, and that. Drew Alar, NFL draft. It's been Penn State, and Ohio State. And then all of a sudden, Oregon's kind of left for dead. And they have been more impressive than Penn State has to so far. And also, like I said, and you said, who knows? Like, they have played teams that's very tough to really make definitive statements about these teams. Both these teams will be playing in an environment this week that they have not seen all year. Whiteout is fantastic. I'm so glad they actually have a quality and a big-time opponent for the whiteout game. Bravo to Penn State for getting that done. And NBC, thank you for taking care of this game and not Fox and Big Noon Kickoff. I will say, the momentum for this game has shifted since the summer, I will say. This feels much more winnable than it did back then for the summer. Not that they never had a chance, because obviously with the talent they have, they always have a chance in any game they play in. But it's Dante Moore, man, a guy that I thought was going to be the wait and see. Like, how does he play with Oregon? How does he play in Will Stein's offense? All this kind of stuff here. Do they have receivers? Evan Stewart's hurt, but holy cow, is Decorin Moore good? Do they have guys? Gary Bryant stepping up. Malik Benson maybe finally putting it together in year 5 or 6 here, it seems like, in college football. Jim Knowles, man, and that Penn State defense will have to be up to the challenge against Will Stein. I think that defense, and you know it in college football, with the crowds and home field advantage, your defense gets the crowd into it. Jim Knowles versus Will Stein, part 3. So far, Will Stein won the first round. Jim Knowles really won the second round. And here we are, part 3. Obviously, Jim Knowles in different uniform, but it's a lot of fun too. And I've been talking to a couple Oregon fans, man. You're worried about that run defense. And that is, by the way, a wild statement that Dan Lanning and the way they recruit in that front 7 is worried about the run defense. But it's something to be noted. And if you talk about like running the football, Andy Kotelnicki does that, man, better than just about anybody in college football. They got the running backs. They've got offensive line galore there with Penn State. That could be concerning if Jim Knowles is having his way with you, and if Andy Kotelnicki and that running game is having a way with you, it could be a tough night. You talk about putting yourself in an impossible situation with that crowd and what it's going to be like Saturday night. Yeah, that's what I'll be looking for. The line of scrimmage is there on both sides.
Yeah, and the coaching, man, like, unbelievable. And Dante Moore, I think we just forgot, right? Like, when he first went out there for UCLA, like, he looked phenomenal. Like, he looked like the billing. It just, like, over the course of the season, it just was a bad situation for him and the program that he was at. Look, I'll lay Penn State minus 3.5, mostly because it's a whiteout. And I just think, like, if not now, then when for this Penn State program, right? This won't be going to my best bet because I don't have some sort of market edge. I don't have like statistical edge or anything like that. This is feel. I think Oregon's really good, but I feel that Penn State's going to come out here and be really physical and match up with that Oregon offensive line that hasn't really been tested, but is really talented. I think it's going to get really interesting here, but I do like Penn State minus 3.5. Don't feel good about it though.
I'm going to fade you here a little bit. I'll go Oregon plus 3.5, more because I think it's going to be a really, really close game. I want to have those points. And also, Oregon's secondary, while young and maybe inexperienced, is really, really talented. And again, not that they can't do it, but I want to see Drew Alar and those wide receivers really get after a team and a defense and consistently move the football when they have to on third down. Penn State on third down, it's been their kryptonite. It seems like for a decade now since Saquon Barkley and McSorley left there, right? So in these big games, you have to win on third down. I think Oregon does. I guess I'll take a win. Why not? Because I'm at 3.5, might as well. Nonetheless, though, I think it'll be an incredible game, 4-quarter football game. You're going to have athletes, NFL scouts will be just drooling up there in State College. A lot of fun. College game day, the whole works there. It'll be a great atmosphere, great time, great for college football in general, and couldn't be more pumped to watch it.
Some social media buzz has sort of been generated around this LSU Ole Miss game. Vaught Hemingway Stadium will be packed, hosting a top 5 LSU team. Trinidad Chambliss is the guy at quarterback for Ole Miss. He has been phenomenal these last 2 weeks. Phenomenal. He's an explosive athlete, and LSU, really, this Clemson win that they've had, it's kind of looking not great. Louisiana Tech gave him some trouble. LSU really hasn't played a perfect game up until this point. They may have to on the road here against Ole Miss, who is favored by 1.5 points. We don't need to talk about the Whit Weeks, Landry Kiffin stuff. It's hilarious. But in terms of this game, what do you see from this? In the preseason, I think that there was some worry about this Ole Miss wide receiver room taking a huge step back, without Jordan Watkins, without Trey Harris. But holy cow, dude, Trey Wallace has been awesome coming from Penn State. Like, sure, he had that really great week 1 for Penn State last year in a big spot, but man, he kind of teetered off the rest of the season. He looks really good right now. And I do like the rest of this wide receiver core. I like Kwan Lacey. I like this Ole Miss offense right now. And defensively, yeah, it's not great, but has LSU been able to capitalize on that despite their immense talent on the offensive side of the ball? I would argue the offensive line hasn't looked perfect. Garrett Nussmeier hasn't looked perfect. The wide receiver, I mean, it just something isn't right there. Something isn't right. CD, I know you like LSU a lot. I mean, what are your thoughts here in this game?
Yeah, I mean Trinidad Chambliss is one of the better stories in college football, and we expect him to start against LSU. Obviously, Austin Simmons very talented, very good quarterback in his own right, but it's just been a different kind of offense, dynamic offense with Chambliss at the helm these past couple of games. His experience is really showing through. His athleticism, he's got a live arm. I was very impressed with Ole Miss and how they handled Tulane. Tulane looked tired. Like they looked like they had played a pretty tough start to their schedule, which they had for especially for the American standard. You got Northwestern on the road at South Alabama, as well as Duke, and then obviously with Ole Miss. So that's where you saw a little bit of that. Their defense kind of just flexed their muscles. Chambliss did what he wanted to do. Very impressive stuff, nonetheless. I'm on LSU here because of that defense, man. Because of that defense, Blake Baker versus Lane Kiffin. They got some dogs in that front seven. Weeks. All those weeks. You've got a rotation of defensive linemen that you can circle through. Harold Perkins, the ultimate chess piece. Tamarcus Cooley is one of the better players, I think, in the SEC. And then obviously you got a couple of really, really good cornerbacks as well that have had fantastic starts to the season. You brought up that Clemson win, Florida as well. Teams that, if you told me 3-4 weeks ago that, yeah, LSU was going to be 4-0 going into this game, I'd be like, okay, how much are they favored by almost a touchdown? And I think part of that is I think that Clemson win and Florida win is looking a little bit less respectable than it did at the time. But the reality is, I don't view it like that because I think that Clemson team was still extremely talented. I think that Clemson team in week one is a lot different than the team that showed up against Syracuse, right? It just seemed like a deflated football team. Florida is still extremely talented, extremely hard out. They didn't play well on the road at Miami, and they still had a chance to win that late in that game. So I don't know. I'm impressed with this LSU team. I love the defense. I trust Nuss on the road. He did not have a ton of great road starts last year. In fact, you saw him implode at points, but I expect him to be ready to play against Ole Miss. They found a little bit of a groove last week, albeit against Southeast Louisiana. Can you run the football, take care of it, and let your defense really get after this Ole Miss offense? Plus 1.5. Yeah, give me LSU.
Yeah, I think that if you're gonna bet, I think that that makes sense responsibly. Bet on the team that still feels like we don't know everything we want to know about these two teams, particularly with a new quarterback at the helm and the level of. I guess both these teams have played some pretty talented teams, and you would think that we would know more about these teams, but I don't feel like I know enough about these teams to consider wagering, on this. I do like Ole Miss minus 1.5. I like the Ole Miss offense in this. I like Trinidad Chambliss a lot. I like the fact that they're at home. I like the fact that you don't have to go to Death Valley. I think the defense can do enough. If you're in this ball game and you're in it late, all right, I'll I'll take the quarterback that's playing better right now. You know, and I would never have said that. Would never have thought that I'd say that about Trinidad Chambliss for Ole Miss and Garrett Nussmeier for LSU, but I'm liking a lot what Chambliss has to offer. So not enough for me to be betting on Ole Miss minus 1.5, but I totally understand the people that are on either side of this. Some of this is projection too. It's like, do you anticipate LSU kind of getting to that form that we expect them to be at? Because guess what? The defense is here now, right? It's there. Like you saw it, like you said against Clemson, like you said against Florida. It's there. That's what hasn't been there in these last couple of years. And that's what makes LSU like a legitimate national championship contender, right? If they do figure out that offensive side of the ball, if that offensive line can establish a run game a little bit better, if Garrett Nussmeier can be more effective, more efficient, if those wide receivers can just do what we know they can do, it's a national championship contending team, potentially. I know that's crazy to say after watching these first 4 weeks of LSU, but I get it. I get it with the talent on this team. But yeah, with that being said, I'll roll with the Rebs in this one. And just because they dropped this game either, like else, if they were dropped this game, like that doesn't mean that they're out of contention at all. Like this is just a Saturday in these power conferences. It's a Saturday in these power conferences this year. You may drop a game on the road to a team that's really good. So I'm excited for this one, man. Do I love me a situation where it's not necessarily game of the year, but Alabama's playing with a little bit more desperation than they have in past years in this Georgia game. Yeah, Gunnar Stockton playing really well. Georgia having a big time win over Tennessee on the road. Alabama looking a little bit better. How about Ty Simpson, man? Ty Simpson's look great. He's looked great. I love the fact that Ryan Grubb is confident in him. He's opened up the offense seemingly every single game. And in that Florida State game, like you remember watching that first half, and it's just dinks and dunks after that scripted first drive. I love where Ryan Grubb's got Ty Simpson playing right now. And you're going to get Jam Miller back. Tim Keenan is questionable to possibly return this week. Like it seems like Alabama, who a lot of folks left for dead in week 1, maybe could be surging back here. And this is an opportunity to show people that they're not out yet.
Absolutely. I mean, how many people gave them a chance last year in this game against Georgia? I will say on our show, I did pick Alabama, but that was more of a gut feeling, honestly. And that's what you almost have to do when you have this level of athlete, when you're playing like Alabama's roster and Georgia's roster, elite athletes. You expect very good coaching as well out of these two staffs. A great environment will be had in Athens there. I worry about Alabama's rushing game. Like, that's what I really worry about. You have not had success. You did not have success against Florida State, right? At all. And I don't know how much easier it's going to be against Georgia on the road. Yes, Ty Simpson is a baller. You've got a ton of playmakers on your team, as does Georgia, by the way, which I think is the difference in this year's game versus last year's game. But running the football, Jam Miller, you need him. You need him to be back and healthy. It sucks, I think, if you're Bama fans and watching the past couple weeks without Jam Miller, you're watching Justice Haynes like tear it up at Michigan. It is what it is right now in that running game. And then defensively, yeah, Tim Keenan is going to be a welcome addition. Obviously, thoughts and prayers out to John Mary and Latham. Hopefully he's okay with his scary neck situation down there. But you've got talent. I think you've got some pass rushers. You started to see guys like Yanze Pierre take some steps here and there, especially against Wisconsin. Bray Hubbard, I thought, played his best game as an Alabama Crimson Tide player since a long, long time against Wisconsin. So you saw it was encouraging, the response Bama has had, right? And if you have a talented football team with desperation and high level of alertness and, response to some adversity, that's a dangerous squad. It's a very, very dangerous squad. With that being said, I just have a hard time passing up Georgia in this game. I think Stockton with his legs is going to be a problem for Kane Womack. We saw Tommy Castellanos really, really give them fits there with what he did. And then also, like I said earlier, Georgia's playmakers, Branch, Colby Young, London Humphreys, guys like that making massive plays in big spots for them on third down and other spots is so big. And it's things that Georgia has not had in a long time. Feels like forever. It's really only been like 3 or 4 years since you had the McConkey and Bowers days, right? But this is where we're at right now. You've got a plethora of talent, obviously, on the defense side of the ball. The right tackle, Ernest Green, that could be a big loss there. Although I think you trust Georgia in their development there along the offensive line with their recruiting to be able to put together serviceable play there at that spot. So that's where I'm at. I'm at Georgia, but will be fantastic. This game lost a lot of buzz, I think, because of Bama in week 1 and what happened there at Florida State. But nonetheless, this is a massive game. It's not a true rivalry game, right, for these squads, but it really is. It absolutely is. And what it's been just because of the nature of the brands that these two teams have and the fan bases. It should be a great one.
Yeah, I'm with you on Georgia. I'll lay the 3.5. Not feel good about it at all. Like I said, I think Alabama has everything that they need. Tell them they were my national championship pick at the beginning of the year. I mean, up and down the roster, you're seeing NFL talent guys, and you're seeing that on this other side of the ball too with Georgia. But if you're able to generate some explosive plays, particularly like you were last year, right, in this exact game, you could find yourself in it. Now, does your secondary need to play better than they did against Florida State? Do you need to stop the run against, Georgia's plethora of backs? I think you do. And I think Georgia's got a unique, versatile set of weapons. Nothing that, and you already mentioned some of their names, nothing that like is getting national recognition right now. Like nothing that's like eye popping stats wise, but like it is a unique, versatile group of guys that Georgia can use very well because there's so much talent there. I like Georgia in this spot. It's at home. That's a huge deal. Bryant Denny. I mean, I might be on the other side of this, assuming that it's like a pick 'em, or assuming that Bama's like favored by 2.5. If it's at Bryant Denny, yeah, I'll go ahead and take Georgia in this one and not feel great about it at all. TCU going to Arizona State. Both these squads with huge wins last week. Arizona State last second field goal against Baylor, holding them off. That was a big deal. And then you got TCU coming off a massive win over SMU where Josh Hoover and Eric McAllister lit up SMU, lit them up. Even with a brutal red zone interception, like you still won very comfortably. Defense looks a lot better. Second year under Andy Avalos. I like what I'm seeing from them a lot. In Arizona State, after that loss to Mississippi State, I think like Mississippi State might be good. I mean, they're a touchdown underdog to Tennessee at home, and Tennessee looks like one of the better teams in the country right now. Uh, despite the last couple minutes of that fourth quarter against Georgia that you saw, boy, I mean, yeah, Arizona State's not out for the count at all, and TCU seems to be playing very high level football, and everyone's already kind of ridden Texas Tech as like this Big 12 championship winner. When the reality is, like, we don't know how the rest of the season is going to go health wise for any of these teams. For all these teams know, they're both in it. They're both in it with no conference losses.
Yeah, this is a big time spot here. You talked about the big wins each of their respective teams got. Their quarterbacks are first of all fantastic. These teams rely on their quarterbacks, I think, more than most of the teams in college football, especially within the Big 12. The usage rate that they get is first of all impressive, but also like really dependent on them playing big time games. Like Sam Leavitt touched the ball 47 times, like 32 attempts, 15 carries last week. Hoover had 48 combined attempts, passing and rushing. So, like I said, like a lot is put on the burden of these guys there. But I like TCU's defense, man, a little bit more than I think I have in the past. And you talked about a little bit with the coaching staff getting their foot in the door with Avalos. Kevin Jennings and SMU, like it's a good football team there. Harden, Chris Johnson, they got some very talented receivers as well. And they looked good, albeit it was at home. So that was big, obviously, for them down in Fort Worth. But you're on the road here at Arizona State. Weird things happen there. I feel like on Friday nights. Arizona State, Malik Brown has been a guy that's been super impressive. He's a big time transfer a couple years ago from USC. Very explosive, different change pace than Cam Scadaboo was, but still very, very good football player. I like TCU here in this spot. I love that I'm getting a couple points here. I think Hoover is really, really freaking good. I know he pulled up limping. He had like cramping issues at the end of the game last week. Sounds like he'll be fine. That's what he said. He said he's healthy. He said it was just cramping. So expect him to be back and obviously playing at a high level like he normally does. Yeah, give me TCU here.
Yeah, I'm with you. Arizona State, like as impressive as like that fourth quarter was to stay in there and find a way to win that football game. I thought Baylor should have won that football game. I mean, like
4 turnovers, man. Come on.
yeah, and you get another game where Sawyer Robertson plays pretty decent. and you're able to run the ball really efficiently with Bryson Washington there. I think, I just still don't know if Arizona State has the personnel defensively to do exactly what Brian Ward wants to do this year. The thing is, though, it's I said that last year, right? And as the season progressed, after those first 4 or 5 weeks, you just saw Brian Ward open up his bag and his team bought into their process. And you just saw them be opportunistic and create the turnovers, that they were able to force against Baylor. I'm with you. I like TCU in this spot. I'll take the points as well. 2.5, 3, whatever. We'll pick it at 2.5, I guess. I know this line's probably moved to 3 at this point. But yeah, I like TCU for all the reasons that you said and what I said. I mean, I don't know. The thing is, the Big 12 is crazy because we talked about it being the conference of quarterbacks. I think that there's a quarterback advantage for TCU with the level that he's playing at right now. I think at the wide receiver position, I think TCU is still pretty loaded. Like Eric McAllister finally having his coming out party, dude. How long have we been waiting for him to kind of bust out of there? I mean, last year I know you had Jack Beck and Saban Williams, and Eric McAllister was just another piece. Even at the beginning of this year, you felt like Eric McAllister was just oh, he's just another guy there. Yeah, if we see that Eric McAllister the rest of the season, and this isn't even a slight on Jordan Tyson, because Jordan Tyson's probably the best draft eligible wide receiver in college football right now. And but yeah, Eric McAllister, the way, at least the level that he played at last week, it was high level wide receiver play. Maybe not to the level Jordan Tyson's at, but it was a dang good piece of work that he put in there for TCU. So this is going to come down to do not turn the ball over TCU. I know Josh Hoover's done a good job taking care of that football, and find ways to get off the field on third down. I know Andy Avalos has done a good job of doing that, but keep that up. It's never easy to go on the road in the Big 12 and win a football game. But here we are, both you and I taking TCU plus 2.5. Time for us to go to the best bets, where I got slaughtered last week. I mean, slaughtered. 1-4 week for me last week brings me down to 8-10 on the year. You had a 2-1 week. You're at 7-12 on the year. Not a great look from either of us in the bets department. And to be honest, I don't feel great about this week. I looked at the board and I had a really tough time finding 4 bets that I liked. The Dirty Dogs, and we'll get to that. Different story. But yeah, I'll let you start us off because you had a better week last week than I did. I got 4 bets. You got 4 bets as well? All right, get us going.
Yeah, it's good to get back in the green after a couple tough weeks there. First one I'll be, and I hate doing this, and you're going to notice a theme here. I'm going to be taking a lot of road teams, which is terrifying. Florida State at Virginia. I'm seeing that below a touchdown, and I just can't understand it. And I know Virginia's better than they've been before, but I like Florida State here in this spot. Florida State minus 6.5. I mean, I'm just going to stop right there before I talk myself in. Before I just talk myself under. But yeah, Florida State minus 6.5. I think Castellanos, obviously, they got talent. That defense, they seem motivated, well coached this year. Much different Florida State team than we've seen in the past. Even though Chandler Morris is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in college football right now with Virginia, I don't think they have enough to stay with Florida State. Give me the Noles.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Will not be joining you on that one for sure. But I'm going to head over to the Sun Belt, and I'm going to bet on a team that I bet on for 3 straight weeks. Didn't hit last week, but Southern Miss. Minus 3.5. Come on, man. Last week, you outgained Louisiana Tech by 200 yards, and Louisiana Tech's 3 of 13 on third down, and you lose by double digits. Nuts. This time, you get Jacksonville State at home. I know Jacksonville State's looked all right with Charles Kelly over there, but you're telling me these teams are equal on a neutral site? I think Southern Miss is way better. I think that Southern Miss has a chance to do some things in the Sun Belt here later in the season. They got a good squad. Southern Miss minus 3.5. Come on.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I was with you on Southern Miss last week, and I'm just nervous to go back to the well there. But yeah, it's a good football team. I think much better, and you got some value there with that one. I'm gonna go to a game we've already previewed, so not gonna talk too much about it. But LSU at Ole Miss. Again, I'm on the road team here. LSU plus 1.5. I know you took Ole Miss, not obviously on your best bets, but when we picked the game, just Nussmeier, that defense, I trust them to get it done against Ole Miss.
I'm going to go to Kansas State UCF under 50. Of course, prayers up for Sean Clark and his family there, who was the former Appalachian State head coach, offensive line coach, just passed away. So it'd be really easy to take UCF here, because you want to root for that. But I do see this being a little bit of a low-scoring game. I see both teams wanting to establish the ground game. Avery Johnson not necessarily being his explosive self when we saw him with Colin Klein. I just don't see a lot of points getting scored here unless turnovers start to happen. But if both teams are keeping this thing on the ground, hopefully we see this under cash.
Yeah, don't hate it at all. Obviously, yeah, rest in peace. Prayers and thoughts to Sean Clark there and his whole family, App State, UCF, all that stuff. I'm going to go to kind of it is technically a out-of-conference game. Houston at Oregon State. Interesting little sneak in there in week 5. But remember, Oregon State is in the Pac-2 right now, so they got a very interesting schedule. But they have worked out. They're 0-4, and they're not very good, right? Trent Bray is put in a tough situation, and it has not worked out so far for them. They just don't put up points. Their defense does concern me here, but Houston, I know they looked good at times. Wigman had a couple long plays. You've gotten some explosiveness out of Stephen Johnson, and even Dean Connors as well, but I don't think it's enough to go over 48, so I'll go under 48 there in that game. Yeah, I just think it's going to be a slugfest there. Willie Fritz, it's how he likes it.
Yeah, I really thought about that, putting that one on my card as well. I had success with the Houston under earlier this year. But I'm going to go with a Memphis FAU over 63. I know this line moved from 61.5. The thing was, I think I'm still going to leave it on there. Not exactly the closing line value that you want to see. I mean, this thing could end at 65.5. Who knows? I think Memphis and FAU both have really nice offenses. FAU's defense hasn't been super spectacular. It has that FIU game did not give me a ton of confidence. All right. And Memphis's offense looks really good, but their defense has been susceptible at times. I still think that they've played overall pretty decently, but FAU's offense hasn't really wavered except for turnovers. And guess what?
Fine
Turnovers.
for the over. It depends.
It depends. But turnovers can be really good for overs sometimes. So I like this over 63 here.
Yeah, I don't hate it at all. I thought about that as a potential dirty dog, and we'll get there when we get there. But I got one more here. USC at Illinois. Again, I'm taking a road team here. USC, the Trojans, -6.5. We talked about that. We previewed that game, but I do expect them to come out and flex their muscles and make a statement here, winning by obviously more than a touchdown, but probably in the double digits.
I can see that. I can see that. Will not be there with you, though. I will take a home favorite, though, in North Texas -12 against South Alabama. I don't think this is an overreaction to Coastal Carolina. I think North Texas has a lot to play for right now, right? And I love the way that Coach Morris is doing his thing over there. Eric Morris is a dog. South Alabama seems like they're not playing their best football right now. And to go on the road to North Texas, I think that North Texas will continue to be really good. So I like this -12. I will lay. Not often they get to lay double-digit points with North Texas, but I will do it.
Yeah, Messmaker's a star. He is incredible. Obviously, we trust that coaching staff there, Eric Morris and all that. But listen, I hope if North Texas wins, I hope they cover. But I'm just going to leave it at that and not put any bad juju out there for you. But we'll be talking about this game when we get to the Dirty Dogs, I believe.
Well, let's get over there. All right. I mean, dude, we are nuttily on fire right now. Another 2 of the 4 teams we had on the Dirty Dogs fell. You got a coach fired over there at Oklahoma State. You had Tulsa +380. I had
Sorry,
Western
Gundy.
Michigan. Yeah, I know. That's at least you could say, like, for Mike Gundy's last game at Oklahoma State, you predicted the loss.
When he gave me a gift. That's just classic Mike Gundy,
Yeah,
making people
the gift that keeps on giving. I took Western Michigan +440 against Toledo. Bit of a sweat there at the end. But yeah, we talked about it. Toledo will drop one in the MAC on the road. Got to pick the right one. Got lucky with that one. So on the season, you and I combined are 6-10. And by the way, Dirty Dogs, preface, these are 10-plus point underdogs, okay? So, like, we're talking plus 300 or more.
Just the money line, too. It's not the spread.
Yeah,
It's
these
full
are
money
Dirty
line.
Dogs straight up. 6-10, you and I combined are up almost 17 units. No, almost 16 units. That's nuts. So, but I was looking at this board this week, CD, and not going to lie, feels like lines are getting a little sharper. Feels like the knife had a tough time picking these out. All right, my favorite one though, and I'll go first because I had the dirtier dog, if you will. Rice plus 480. All right, food. Can they cash another dirty dog for us like they did in week 1 this year for you? They play against a Navy team on the road. How good is Navy? I don't know that we can necessarily ask ourselves that question. And that play style, both of these teams' play style is conducive to I guess low variance totals, but high variance outcomes. So I think that there's a possibility that Rice here catches them at plus 480. I mean, Navy looked good against Tulsa, but who hasn't? UAB, who hasn't? And VMI, who in Division One hasn't? I'm just saying. Well, against Tulsa, I mean, Oklahoma State lost, but different breed right there. So I think that there's a possibility of another low scoring game like we saw in that Western Michigan Toledo last week. I think Rice Navy, there's a chance that Scott Abel pulls one out of his butt. And by the way, if he does, you're looking at a 4-1 Rice Owls team with, a win over Navy and Louisiana. That would be crazy heading into week 6. Talk about a turnaround.
It would be. And by the way, Scott Abel, I think it's worth noting, he is familiar with not necessarily the triple option, but with a run option, a heavy run scheme kind of offense. Very, very creative run schemes that they've had. Obviously, John Kay, the defense coordinator, has been at Rice for a couple years, was in the high school ranks in Texas football. So not necessarily him, dealing with Scott Abel every day in practice, but that staff at least has some experience with that. So I think that's worth noting. And those players who have seen it throughout the spring and all that, it's not going to be a crazy shell shock to them. I don't hate that at all for you. It's pretty stinky, but it's also not a bad place to be at all. I'm going to move over to an out-of-conference game. I guess this one here, Boise State is hosting Appalachian State Saturday night, FS1. So obviously national TV, which is big time for both these programs. I want to say RIP. Sean Clark, everything he did for App State, he meant so much to that program. We loved covering him. We loved looking at this App State team. They did so much for college football. Even though they beat Matthews Aggies a couple years ago, they're just obviously
doesn't matter.
Big time. Yeah,
it's bigger than football.
It really is.
All right. Fighting Sean Clarks. They're the Fighting Sean Clarks this weekend.
Yeah,
and so is UCF, I guess, but. Fortunately, they don't qualify for our Dirty Dogs. Otherwise, we would be pounding him.
Plus 550 here, and this is also about App State. They got some guys there. Now, I don't love the new coaching staff. We don't love the new coaching staff there. Tyler Loggins, right? But AJ Swan's a very good football player. Rashad Dubinian's a very good football player. They got some talent there. Defensively, they got to figure it out as well. It hasn't been great, right? You beat Charlotte, who's, one of the worst teams in college football. But I think you got a chance here on the road. Boise State, they have talent as well. Running game, they started getting it going. I thought I was impressed with Dylan Riley last week. Obviously, Chris Marshall's a very talented football player as well. But yeah, I think App State's got a real good chance here, and plus 6.5 feels like a lot. Feels like a lot. App State plus 550. Let's go, Sean Clark and App State.
Love it. I love it. I got one that's a little bit less stinky in terms of odds, but I think would be really stinky in that conference. In the American, I'll go back to it. FAU plus 400. All right. Reason I say that, if Caden Veltkamp literally just doesn't turn the ball over, they have a shot to win this game. It is a huge letdown spot for Memphis.
Yep.
It is at home.
Yep.
By the way, FAU, they're 1-2. They have 0 conference losses, right? They're 0-0 right now. I know that that's being preached in the locker room. Zach Kitley, from an offensive coordinator's perspective, I think has looked fine. I think it's been Caden Veltkamp putting the ball in spots that he should not be putting the ball in spots of. I know Memphis' defense has looked all right this season, but if Feldkamp, dude, if he just doesn't turn the ball over, they can literally win this game. And then you're looking at you're looking at an FAU rest of their season schedule in the American CD is Rice, UAB, South Florida. It's a tough game. Navy, that's a tough game. Tulsa, Tulane, East Carolina. Not that FAU can go win it out, but I'm just saying, like, they still got everything they still got everything to play for right now. So I like them plus 400 here. Don't love it though.
You could kickstart a big time win streak here if you're Florida Atlantic going into American play. It's not crazy at all. I thought about that. That was on my list here, but you did actually get the pick before me. So I will go return the favor here, and I'm going to fade you with your best bets. You had North Texas, and for those who have not been here the longest since last year, that's a scary sight. First of all, we've been crazy hot on Dirty Dogs, so that's terrifying in the first place for Matthew. But in games where we faded each other, it was more so me getting hurt on this other side where I would take a team, the favorite, and Matthew would put the dog on their Dirty Dog, and he would win outright, and it'd be tough.
Three times.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. Anyways,
it's like more at one time. It's like, all right, okay. 2 times, like, all right, whatever. 3 times, it's like, all right, guys.
Not seeing the board great, but we have been seeing Dirty Dogs great this week. South Alabama plus 375. This is classic Jaguar football to get right. It was so bad last week. Obviously the fan base is extremely upset, as they should be. Davenport, Bullock, Boyson, those guys are studs. They got some playmakers on defense as well, but they got to show it, man. They got to show it. You played a couple really close football games, really tough football games against Tulane. Auburn, you gave them a little bit of trouble as well. And then you just let down at home against Coastal. Pick yourself back, go on the road. This is not a conference football game. North Texas needs this one here, but man, I think South Alabama does too. And so does Major Applewhite. So give me the Jaguars.
That's going to do it for week 5 previews, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you're already here at this point and you've listened to the entire thing, just go ahead and give us a like, subscribe, do all that stuff. We appreciate you guys' support. Like, honestly, like, our channel's grown pretty significantly relative to what it has in past years over these last couple weeks. Thank you all so much. It's awesome. We love that you guys consume our content. We love that you guys are commenting. We love that you guys are involved. We love that you guys love college football as much as we do. So thank you so much. And excited to see a great slate of football this week. A great slate. CD, anything for us on the way out?
Yeah, it starts Thursday night. Army at East Carolina, big time game in the American, and finishes all the way through the late night Saturday game. Old Pac-12, well, not really Pac-12 after dark, but BYU at Colorado. Good stuff there. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a blast talking about this for you guys, and appreciate all the support and love you guys have been giving us.
We'll see y'all in the next one.